For years, my mother-in-law called me a poor, gold-digging leech who would never afford her family's lifestyle. What she didn't know was that the whole time she was looking down on me, I was building an empire right under her nose. She had no idea that the secret project I was pouring my life into would end with her own boss introducing me as his new CEO. To her, I was just the family's favorite charity case, the girl from the wrong side of the tracks who got lucky snagging her son. And boy, did she make sure I never forgot it. The moment my husband David introduced me to his mother Sarah, I knew I was in for a fight. We were standing in the marble entryway of her massive home, which looked more like a private museum than a place where people actually lived. She scanned me from head to toe, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against a wine glass. And her eyes lingered just a little too long on my off-the-rack dress. A thin, polite smile played on her lips, but it never, ever reached her eyes. "So," she said, her voice just dripping with condescension, "you're the one David De've been so taken with." That first meeting pretty much set the tone for the next 5 years. To Sarah, I wasn't a person. I was a problem, a stain on the family's spotless reputation. She was a senior manager at a huge tech firm, a fact she never let anyone forget. Her life was a carefully curated Instagram feed of European vacations, designer bags, and country club lunches. My life? Well, it was a testament to hard work and a mountain of student loans. I was a freelance coder, grinding it out from our tiny apartment, just trying to make a name for myself. Family dinners were her stage, and I was her favorite target. I'd just sit there trying to shrink into my chair as she held court. She had this way of bringing up my background, disguising it as a compliment that always landed like a punch to the gut. "It must be so refreshing for you, dear," she announced once, at a packed Thanksgiving table. "To finally relax and not worry about money. David is so generous." The implication was painfully clear. I was a leech. David would squeeze my hand under the table and whisper for me to ignore her. But he rarely confronted her directly. He loved his mom, and his need to keep the peace usually came at the expense of my dignity. Her cruelty wasn't always that obvious. Sometimes it was the little things, the passive-aggressive jabs that left me dizzy. For my birthday one year, she gave me a book called Budgeting for Beginners. In front of everyone, she smiled and said, "I thought this might be helpful for you." The room went dead silent as I unwrapped it. David's brother shot me a sympathetic look, but nobody dared challenge the queen. A few minutes later, she gave David a $1,000 watch. The message was, as always, crystal clear. "You are not one of us. You will never be one of us." But here's what she didn't know. What nobody knew. Those long nights hunched over my laptop weren't just for small-time freelance jobs. For the past 2 years, I was working on a top-secret project. I was in direct, confidential contact with a man named Mr. Harrison, a reclusive but legendary tech genius. We were building a revolutionary logistics AI that had the potential to change the entire industry. I told David it was a demanding consulting client who needed total secrecy. I hated lying to him, but I knew if Sarah caught even a whiff of it, she'd find a way to ruin it or just mock me for even trying. This project was my lifeline. It was my one shot to prove mostly to myself that I was more than the person she saw. The breaking point finally came at our engagement party. We held it at a modest but nice restaurant we could actually afford, a far cry from the 5-star places Sarah was used to. She spent the first hour complaining about the quaint decor and the cheap champagne. But her real performance came during the toasts. After my dad gave a really sweet, heartfelt speech, Sarah stood up, glass in hand, with a predatory glint in her eye. "I'd like to make a toast," she began, her voice cutting across the room, "to my son, David, who has always had the biggest heart." She paused, turning to look right at me. Such a big heart, in fact, that he's always been willing to help those less fortunate, to lift them up. The air got so thick you could feel it. I felt every single person in the room staring at me. From rags to our riches, as they say. She went on with a sickeningly sweet smile. Let's raise a glass to my future daughter-in-law for showing us all that with a little luck, anyone can climb out of the gutter. Cheers! A few of her snobby friends actually chuckled. The rest of the room was just frozen in horror. I felt the blood drain from my face. My own mom looked like she was about to burst into tears. David finally pushed past his limit, grabbed the microphone. "Mom, that's enough!" he hissed, his face beet red. But the damage was done. She had just branded me a gold-digging charity case in front of everyone I knew and loved. I spent the rest of my own engagement party locked in the bathroom, trying not to have a complete breakdown. The next morning, nursing a massive emotional hangover, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" I said, my voice all hoarse. "Is this my name?" A familiar, professional voice asked. "Mr. Harrison?" "The one and only," he said warmly. "I've got some news." The board held their final vote last night. They loved the acquisition proposal. And they loved the condition that came with it even more. The CEO position is yours. You start on the 1st of next month. I just sank onto the couch, pressing the phone hard against my ear. CEO. The word just echoed in my silent apartment. My secret project wasn't just a success. It was a life-changing, world-rocking triumph. And in that exact moment, a plan started to form. A beautiful, perfect plan. The company Mr. Harrison owned, the one that had just made me their new chief executive officer, was the very same tech firm where my mother-in-law Sarah had built her entire career, and she had absolutely no idea what was coming for her. Fast forward to the 1st of the month, I walked into the gleaming 20-story glass tower of Innovetic Solutions. I was wearing a custom-tailored power suit that cost more than my first car, and my heels clicked with purpose on the polished granite floor. As I walked toward the elevators, I saw a familiar figure standing by the reception desk, gossiping. It was Sarah. She saw me, and her face twisted into a sneer. Well, look what the cat dragged in," she said, loud enough for her friend to hear. "Are you lost, little girl? The temp agency is down the street. I have to say, I'm surprised to see you aiming this high." I just smiled, a calm, genuine smile. "Hello, Sarah. You're right on time." Her brow furrowed, confused, but before she could spit another insult, the elevator dinged. Mr. Harrison stepped out, his hand extended right to me. "There you are," he boomed, full of energy. "Welcome to your new home. Ready for the big announcement?" He put an arm around my shoulders and guided me toward the main conference room, where an all-hands meeting was about to start. I glanced back at Sarah. Her mouth was hanging open, her mind clearly short-circuiting as she tried to understand why the family leech, was walking arm in arm with the company's legendary founder. The room was packed and buzzing with nervous energy. Mr. Harrison took the stage and started talking about a new chapter for Innovitic, about bold leadership and a vision for the future. I stood at the side of the stage, scanning the crowd until I found her. Sarah was in the 3rd row, looking smug, probably thinking she was about to get a promotion. "This new era," Mr. Harrison announced, "requires a new leader. Someone with the vision, the drive, and the sheer brilliance to take us to the next level. This leader is the reason for our recent acquisition of a groundbreaking AI logistics company. She is the architect of the technology that will secure our future for the next 50 years. He turned and gestured right at me. "So, it is my immense pleasure to introduce you to your new CEO." And then he said my name. Time just stopped. I watched Sarah's face go through a lightning-fast series of expressions. First, confusion, like she'd heard him wrong. then dawning comprehension as her eyes locked onto mine. And finally, a wave of pure, unfiltered horror washed over her. Her skin went pale, her smug smile just collapsed into a slack-jawed gape of disbelief. The polite applause from her coworkers sounded like a roaring freight train in the sudden, suffocating silence of her world. I walked to the center of the stage, took the mic from Mr. Harrison, and looked directly at her. "Thank you, Mr. Harrison," I said, my voice perfectly steady. "I see a lot of bright, talented people here. I can't wait to get to work with all of you." The fallout was immediate and spectacular. Sarah didn't even stay for the end of the meeting. She practically ran from the room while her colleagues stared, whispered, and started connecting the dots. Later that day, I got a string of frantic, rambling texts. They started with disbelief. "This has to be a joke, right?" Then moved to panicked apologies. "I am so sorry. I never meant any of it. It was just my way of joking." And ended with begging, "Please don't fire me. This job is my entire life." I didn't answer. I didn't have to. The next day, I held a brief, professional meeting with all the department heads, including her. I treated her with the same detached courtesy I showed everyone else. I didn't fire her. I didn't need that kind of revenge. The daily humiliation of having to report to me the girl she called a leech from the gutter was a far more perfect punishment. Her own pride and shame did all the work for me. Within 2 weeks, she submitted her request for an early retirement. Seeing his mother's true colors laid bare like that, David finally cut the toxic cord. He apologized to Mean, not for his mother, but for his own silence, for all the years he asked me to just take it. Our relationship became stronger than ever, rebuilt on a new foundation of actual, mutual respect. In the end, Sarah was right about one thing: I could never afford her lifestyle. Because as it turned out, I was busy building a lifestyle she could only ever dream of. The best revenge wasn't some big confrontation or watching her get fired. It was the quiet, unshakable peace that came from my own success. It was knowing that I had built my own table, and she was no longer invited to sit at it. So, what do you think? What would you have done in my shoes? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for listening.